Good afternoon and welcome to Rubbin Minds. My name is Isabella Adediji. Now, over the week, we all saw those horrifying images of children, minors being arraigned in court, malnourished. You could see their bones actually protruding through their skin. And we even saw one pass out during the court session. And after that, we heard that the bill was placed at 10 million naira. Where are the families of these children supposed to find such a huge amount of money? And why is the bill so high? And what does it say about our justice system? What are the processes for arraigning minors? And what is in place to protect their rights and ensure that while they are in the prison, they're behind bars, they're in detention, that they're well taken care of, they have enough meals and they have access to quality medical care. These are some of the issues we're going to be discussing on the first segment here on Rubbin Minds. Now, joining me from our Abuja studio is a legal consultant at Hope Behind Bars, that is Henry Barnabas. Henry, welcome to Rubbin Minds.
Thank you for having me.
Let's just go straight into the conversation. And I know Nigerians are asking, what does the Nigerian law say about arraigning minors? And what does the Child Rights Act also say?
Thank you very much. The law is clear as regards the treatment of minors in regards to criminal justice system in Nigeria. Minors cannot be treated as adults in the regular courts. The law, as stipulated in the Child Rights Act 2003, stipulates that for every child that has to be tried under criminal justice, the child has to be tried either in a family court or in the juvenile system, right? So the law is clear. There's no gainsaying as regards to whether minors can be tried in regular court or not.
And if that's the case, why did we see what we saw over the week? I mean, these are clearly minors, whether or not they're married, as the lawyer said. These are minors and should be treated as minors. Who takes the blame when the laws are being flouted clearly?
Well, it's a sad situation we have here because just like I've stipulated in the Child Rights Act, the years for majority is 18 years. So irrespective of whether you are married or a child is married, because issue of marriage has to do with different location in the country and as well. But you know, from the far north, we have different age that applies to the south, right? But the Child Rights Act is what guarantees or stipulates what an adult is, and an adult under the Child Rights Act is 18 years. So irrespective of the said allegedly that one of the children or any of the children is married does not really matter, because under the law they have to be treated as minor. Now, coming back to your question as regards who takes the blame, well, you know, from the get-go, the criminal justice system, the first point of call are our security agencies who actually, you know, make arrest and then refer these individuals or suspect, as the case may be, for trial. And I can say that for every step, you know, from the detention center, from the police investigation to trying of these persons to the court and, you know, where they have been arraigned, I think everybody is culpable or should be blamed for this incident, because the law is clear. You cannot treat anybody less than 18 as an adult.
And this brings us to the conversation around human rights in Nigeria and child rights specifically. And what does this say about the justice system in ensuring that the rights of Nigerians are protected?
Well, if you look at the story behind the trial of these young individuals, they've been arrested since August, and then one of the allegation was the end bad government protest, and then they were giving Trump up charges for terrorism and all that. Now, it's clear that under Nigerian laws, where everybody have a right to peaceful protest, right? So if you have a right to peaceful protest, what the government can do is to actually protect protesters, not to arrest or try to silence them up. So what we have here is a sad situation, which lawyers, civil society, and the Nigerian Bar Association will continue to advocate against abuse of fundamental rights, especially as it relates to children.
And I want us to look at just the length of time that these children have been in detention. What we're looking at is what, going over 90 days now. What does the law say about holding people for such long periods? Are there ways that these things can be sped up? If you say someone needs to go to trial, needs to face the law, must they wait so long behind bars?
Sadly, for us at Hold Biyanba, we have been advocating for non-custodial remedies for issues like this. Now, the daily upkeep, for a regular inmate takes up to 1,000 and 1,005. Now, you have over 112 children multiplied by 1,005 for 90 days. It means that we are using our taxpayers' money abusively, right? So the best way or the best form as regards to whatever it is, whether minors or not, is to advocate for non-considered measures for, especially for crimes or situation that does not pose a threat to the society. That's what we are advocating for. We should learn as much as possible to, just to put people in detention center. It's a very sad situation. Now, if you look at the videos or the images, you will discover that one of the children had to even suffer malnutrition and, collapse in court. Why? Because, of course, taking care of this person, and if you look at the economy right now, taking care of inmates particularly is a very huge cost to the prison system or the custodial system in Nigeria. So measures as regards non-custodial measures should be put in place by security agencies and the courts in regards to crime in Nigeria.
And for the judiciary, one wonders how the figure of 10 million came about, and where these families, like you just mentioned, with the hardship in the country, where are families supposed to find these huge amounts? And what does this say about the judiciary when it comes to ensuring that Nigerians can exercise their rights to peaceful protest, like we saw during the End Bad Governance protest?
Well, the issue of bail really is the discretion of the court or the judge, as the case may be, to issue bail conditions, right? And one of the reasons that the courts will always consider is the nature of the crime, the status of the individual in question, or surrounding facts, as the case may be. For this particular case, it's clear that these persons are minor, right? And ordinarily, for you to try minors under the Child Rights Act, you are supposed to, first of all, hand them over to their guardian or their family member, right? So that's one of the steps. And where they have to even go to court regularly, they must be represented by a legal practitioner. Now, for us at Hold Behind Bars, we got to know about this issue in August, and from the August to date, where the fundamental human rights matter was filed, we have always been in court, trying to monitor all the issues. But you would understand that representing 112 persons is not an easy deal, right? So we need to advocate for a system where, if at all children will be tried, the procedure as stipulated in the Child Rights Act must be followed to the letter end.
And I mean, organizations like Hope Behind Bars are involved, but what about other organizations that receive huge grants to work in the area of children, child protection, child empowerment? Are there other organizations you're working with that have also shown interest? Because it brings the question of how are these funds actually being dispersed and used?
Well, right now, the situation right now is a call to action. I know so many NGOs, organizations receive grants from international agency as regards to children. So it's for us, we at Hope Yaba, we are leading the way, and we are calling on other organizations to join us with us to be able to ensure that we fight this abuse against our children.
Hmm. And while this is going on, what protection is in place for these children? Because your earlier answer, you said 1,500 naira, I believe, to for their welfare. We know what 1,500 naira can do just for food. It barely covers the bare essentials, let alone medical care and other things that children need who are still growing. So, what protection is in place for these children?
Well, right now the law is their protection, and we are calling on the government, especially the Attorney General of the Federation, to invoke his powers as outlined in Section 174 of the Constitution, and discontinue this matter. I think that's the first measure to start with. This matter against these children should be discontinued, right? And then their medical bills, their transportation, should be catered for. I learned some of these children are based in Kano, and I think right now the government of Kano should be making effective measures to ensure that these children are returned safely back to Kano and reunited with their family members.
And 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 that also brings in the question of their representatives. Surely these people are part of constituencies. So whether it's their House of Representatives, their senator, their governor, like you've just said, what should these people be doing now?
If I was, because I don't want to speak for anybody, but I'm putting myself in place of any of their representative in their constituency. I think tomorrow is Monday, and it's the first day of work. I think they should use whatever connection, whatever powers they have to engage with the AGF to ensure that first of all this matter is first of all discontinued, and then of course try to reunite this these children with their family. And for us at Home Yaba, we are not just looking at the release of these children. We are also looking at how government will be able to cater for these children, education from primary to secondary school. So these are the things that some of their representatives should be doing or thinking about to do right now.
Yeah, and indeed, representation is about, knowing what is going on in your constituency. And if there are issues that like this that have received national attention, one would imagine that there'll be a faster response. Now, we focus this conversation a lot on the children, but it's a wider conversation on end bad governance protests and other protests. Are we now in a situation where going out on the streets to demand things from the government is now criminalized? Because some parents will be sitting in their houses and saying, no, my child is not going to go out. I won't go out because I could end up behind bars.
Well, first of all, I think using children to protest is a really wrong measure, right? So, but for any of the any citizen of Nigeria, I think everyone is entitled to protest and carry out their grievances. I mean, it's a very known fact that most persons in this government have, one way or the other, have tried to air their grievances or try to correct issues they think they know through peaceful protest. So protesting is one of the rights of individuals, and as long as you are doing it within the confine of the law, I mean, it's okay, right? So it also behoves on our police to be able to screen and ensure that people who would have to protest are provided cover, right, and provided the right environment for them to protest. I mean, yes, you can create a bit of regulation just to filter some miscreants and all those who would want to take advantage of protests to engage in looting and all that. But however, the right of protest is, I mean, one of our own rights, and it should not be taken away from us.
And beyond this case with the children, there are other cases of adults who were engaged in this peaceful protest and past protests that are still facing jail time, that are still seeking legal representation to regain their freedom. Does it mean that we're getting to a stage in Nigeria that we're going to see less people show up to protest because of the antecedent, because of this kind of rulings? Because how many people can afford bail if you do end up behind bars?
Well, I think it's a measure by the government to discourage people from protesting, right? And I think civil society should also stand and condemn measures like this that is being put in place. And we're also advocating for the courts to be able to discourage or allow themselves be used by agents of government in this regards. And I think moving forward, really, there should be profiling for people that we, facing criminal trial, especially. I mean, justice is not blind, really, even though we have Lady Justice would cover that, but justice is not blind. And I think any judge that sees somebody that is suspects to be a minor, I think the judge should descend in the arena and ask questions that will help provide justice in that particular matter. So we are calling on the courts not to be used by agents of government to discourage people from protesting or airing their grievances.
And finally, what can be done in the short term to ensure the release of the children and also people who have ended up going out to protest peacefully but have ended up behind bars for exercising their rights?
I think right now the burden rests on the shoulder of the AGF, the Attorney General of the Federation, to invoke his power as outlined in Section 174 to discontinue these matters and, I mean, profile some of these suspects. If you feel that they are adults and they need to be tried, then proper measures should be put in place. But for the children, if you want to really try them, you cannot try them in regular court. You have to take them to a family court or a juvenile center.
Thank you very much, Henry Barnabas, a legal consultant at Hope Behind Bars Africa. Thank you for your contributions on Rubbin Minds.
Thank you so much.
We'll now go on a quick break. Please don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Rubbin Minds. Now, our conversation moves to young people in politics. Over the years, there's been a lot of agitation to see more young people contribute to national development through active participation in the political process. And we've seen responses by some of the political parties to make forms available at cheaper rates to encourage more young people to buy forms. Some have even gone a step further to field young candidates. And we've even seen the government at state and federal level appoint some young people into very prominent positions, whether as heads of agencies, ministries, or even ministerial positions. Now, questions still continue to come up on how effective are these young leaders in politics? What is hindering sometimes their successes? And what can be done to ensure that more young people are able to be a part of the political process now? Joining me for this conversation is Opeyemi Oke, who is a public analyst. Welcome to Rubbin Minds.
Thank you for having me.
And we also have Femi Emmanuel, who's a social commentator. Glad to have you on Rubbin Minds.
Thank you for having me.
So I'll start with Opeyemi, and I just want you to make a case. A lot of times, the older politicians will say, okay, you want young people in politics. Why? What's so important? What do they bring to the table that an older politician doesn't have? What's the case for having young people serve in government?
I mean, thank you very much. Young people, I mean, for a country that has a population of over 60% young people under the age of 18, and I mean, if you look at us as a continent as well, we're a very young continent in terms of demography. So the young people bring the energy, they bring the innovation, and of course they are, they become, strategic partners in designing a future, both for themselves that they're going to be a part of, and of course for the generation to come. So there is a much more like a deep bench, like a proper transitioning system of government, not of the existing corrupt government that we have, or of course corruption we have within the system right now. But of course we see that the involvement of young people, we have better access to education, you have innovation, we have the energy, we have the vigor. At the core of the success of any government today, even in Nigeria as it stands, if you look at the back end, you will see a lot of young people strategizing, strong young people, at the core of they are the brain box of the government. So why not give the platform for them to also learn through the ropes, so that we can have a smoother transition into into the development we want to see, from generation to generation. So I think that it's critical. It is very important for us to have young people be involved in designing policies or in building the future that they are going to be a part of, and of course for their children as well.
Femi, I see you nodding your head. You agree? Are there other points for young people to play an active role in the political process?
I agree with my friend brother Opeyemi. What I would love to add again is I think the major reason why in the continent at the moment there's a clamor for younger people to be active in leadership and politics is because it's obvious that the populists are fed up of the same set of people ruling us. And even when they try to throw new names, you find out that there's still an affiliation to the old set of people who have been clamoring, who have been ruling in different disguise. And the only way to probably shut down that outrage that may actually happen someday is to pick one or two from those energy-driven majority that are the ones that are demanding at the moment. That's number one. Number two, most times looking at the state government level, there's this cordiality to an extent with the student union governments of most of the institutionally based politics on campus. And if they don't find a way to bring them in, even though I'm not still satisfied with most of them being comfortable with just being SSAs and the like.
We'll still get to that part of the conversation. Yeah. I'll move to you now, Opeyemi. And you've already touched on it. Thank you, Femi. My next question, which are some of the specific challenges that young politicians face, like you attributed like some form of godmotherism, someone playing actively behind the scenes, and just a few young people that actually make it. So I'd like you to comment on that.
Thank you, Isabella. You see, when we talk about young people in politics, a lot of times we relegate it to just elective positions, right? I ran for House of Assembly in the last general elections. And as a 36-year-old man, was trying to, I want to be involved in the rebuilding process of my country. I want to also get involved in policy and decision making. The hurdles I had to cross in terms of godfatherism, in terms of understanding the structure. I didn't win. I didn't even clinch my party ticket, but I learned. And one of the things I understand is that, for me, I've joined partisan politics like a very long time, right? But I still understand that, in the Nigerian political system, money and godfatherism are the two major barriers into young people's involvement in elective positions. However, I think that one of the core lessons that I think I learned from, my participation in last general election is that, we cannot take away the place of understanding, especially if you want to run with, these very, prominent and major political parties. We can't take away the importance of learning the ropes. You can't take away the importance of learning and, getting proper mentorship. I'm not saying godfatherism, getting proper mentorship, getting involved with them at the ward level, at the grassroots level, get to know your people and let your people know you. Except you have a father, who has maybe served, like you said earlier, or like my brother said earlier, that has served, and maybe they say, okay, let's reward your father this time. You can go, you can have this ticket, right? So, but if we gauge it from the elective position, money and that political structure has become a major bottleneck, for young people to emerge. But in the elective, in the appointment position, we're improving as a country. If you look at, the number of, the involvement of young people in politics and decision making in terms of appointment into strategic offices in Lagos State today, it is amazing. If you look at it in Oyo State, it's amazing. In Kaduna State, when El Rufai was there, it was good. And of course, under Tinubu now, we see young people also emerging. Our current Minister for Youth is younger than 35. And it's encouraging to begin to see that, of course, one way or the other, even within the complexity of the political structure, we are finding our ways.
I hear you very clearly, Opeyemi, but my question to you, Femi, has to do with examples, because on the one hand you're saying that there's a place for mentorship, there's a place for growth, there's a place for paying your dues, and these things take time, right? You can't just go maybe 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 and jump right in. But I'm sure there are examples, and that's my question to you, of where we've had young people take up significant roles, whether by appointment or by election. And even in Nigeria, we've had young leaders who have become presidents, who have ruled this country. So there are examples, but maybe educate us on some examples that you know of locally as well as globally.
Okay, I will start with the likes of Professor Patutomi. He joined government as a very young person rather. But you see, what was obtainable then is different with what is obtainable now. And that's why I agree with my brother that you have to really, you can't turn away from mentorship. Some people call it godfatherism, but you see, there's a structure. And it is difficult to actually climb up if you don't really belong to that structure. I'll give a good instance. Bello El-Rufai's son is doing well in the House of Representatives. I've taken time to observe the projects he's involved with, the initiative. In fact, he's even the chairman for the Committee on Banking and Finance. He's doing so well, but no one would have only, if not for his father's influence, or probably for his father's name, let me use that, no one would probably have assumed that someone as young as that would probably be able to do wonderful. I'll give another instance in the cabinet, the president's cabinet. Olubimi, the minister for interior, you will agree with every Nigerian, irrespective of party affiliation, will agree that Olubimi Ojo is doing wonderfully well. So,
okay. I'll move to you, Opeyemi, and I want to go back to your experience, because it's obvious that your father is not a politician or your grandfather is not a politician. You don't have a name that you can go and use to your advantage. So what happens to young people like you that want to run for office? Young people like you that want to be appointed into these roles, that don't have the political connections, don't have political mentors or godfathers, godmothers, whatever you call them. People that just have a heart for nation building and for Nigeria.
You know, my father actually, funny enough, is a politician. I mean, was even my party's chairman for a long time.
So your father was a politician, and you couldn't use that.
I couldn't even use the influence to
Interesting.
claim
Wow.
because in my party I belong to. Okay, in my party, there is a structure of growth. There is a structure of the way they call it. They say go and join queue. That's the way it is. They tell you go and join queue, go and learn through the ropes, right? In a way, it stifles the level of the quality of leadership that we are able to produce when we are looking beyond, when we're not looking beyond our set rules within the party structure, to start looking for people that are innovative and are passionate to deliver good governance to the people, right? However, one of the things I tell people, one of the things I learned from my own experience is that if you want to go into elective political office, start early. All right, start early. Let the people know you. The people knew my father. Of course, they knew me. I was a party volunteer at 18, right? I joined political party in 1999, right? That was when I began to volunteer. As of 2001, I was a volunteer driver, for the Action Congress, before it became the Action Congress of Nigeria, and of course to the current APC, right? So there is a need for us to integrate yourself in the political system. Is very important. If you look at people like Yahya Bello, and young people that they've somewhat gauged us with as young people to call us incompetent, you realize that most of these people, they were not, I would say they were accidental leaders, but there are people who are so passionate, who are about nation building. What I can advise is 2027 is coming. Even if you have not started, you are late. You need to actually get back, learn through the ropes, submit yourself to the party structure. Yes. Let them know you at the ward level. And of course, let your leaders know you, and you'll be surprised. And
it's interesting that you mentioned Yahya Bello, and it's important that we balance this conversation, because there are young people who have gotten into government, and sometimes we have seen something that is not desirable. For example, you also have what happened during the week, the issue with the rep member and the driver of a ride-hailing app. And I mean, that's just wrong. Like that is someone that started politics at a young age, age, but you've now seen this person grow into someone that is now abusing the powers of the office that he possesses. So when we have these kind of examples like Yaya Bello, like this person, what does it say about having young people in government?
You see, three things are very important: the messenger, the method, and the message. Now, the messenger is who Nigerians criticize the most. That is who is running for office or who is probably in office, like the Yaya Bello and this other honorable from the House of Representatives that you just mentioned. That probably I will mention more. Dimeji Bankole from Ogun State, who was speaker, was
Yes.
probably 38 as at then. I can mention more names of young people that make so many people feel that even if they give more of us opportunities, we may not. But the point is this: the messenger, the message, and the method. Now, you see, the messenger, we all have our flaws as human. To some, it may be anger management. To some, it may be communication defective. There is no human that does not probably have his own defects. But you see, what people won't tolerate is actually now the method, which is one of the things we've not been able to hijack. That's where the party machinery comes in. That's where probably the name of the Godfather that rings a bell. I forgot to mention that I also tried out politics. Like, I've been in politics since 8 years, and even though when you buy form and you participate in the primaries, they won't tell you that you probably not imagine. You think it's going to be free and fair. But see, you have to queue, like he said, because there are people that has actually been promised probably 20 years ago that didn't get it, and they'll probably compensate the parent or something. So now my point is this, let me round off on that. I talked about the messenger, I talked about the method, and I talked about the message. Everyone always have a message of hope, which is probably their manifesto. And in Nigeria right now, it's probably too difficult to believe anyone because of your message only. But you see, the messenger himself, which now has to do with how he talked about volunteering, how much of your ability to actually enhance resources, strategic thinking, strategic partnership. Some of
Yeah.
us didn't know about this earlier enough.
Okay. My final question will be to you, Okoyemi, about the need for real democracy at a party level. Because if you're not going to allow this person to win or to participate in a free and fair election at the primaries, why are you selling them a form?
You see, that's why it is democracy, right? I agree that there needs to be improved internal party democracies across all political parties. There has to be, no doubt about that. However, I'd like to also say, as we see the likes of Yahya Bello and every other people, or the other, young person that has failed in their capacity, I think it is high time we also started spotlighting some of these young people that are doing incredibly well. You can see the work this lady, the Commissioner for Agriculture in Lagos State, is doing, Olusoya Busola. You can see the work Mobolaji Bankole, Mukola Ogunlende, the current Commissioner for Youth of Lagos State, is doing. I'm privileged to be close to the Federal House of Representatives based on policy advisory. I go into the room, I see young people in their 30s. I see Ceci Winga of Badagry. I see Mukhtar Shagaya of Kwara State. I see the son of Akala, LMJ. I see them in the room. I see the quality of conversations they're having. I see the quality of bills they are presenting. And I'm impressed,
Yes.
for the future.
Yes.
However,
Sorry, Okoyemi, I have to come in there because
okay,
that's
please
all
go
we
ahead.
can take. We're now out of time. Thank you, Okoyemi Oke and Femi Emmanuel, for your contributions on Rubbin Minds.
Thank
Thank
you
you for
very much,
having us.
Isabella. Thank you for having us.
We'll go on a quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Rubbin Minds. Now, the November-December period is a time filled with lots of celebratory events. And in the film and television industry here in Nigeria, it's a time of rewarding filmmakers, showcasing the work of filmmakers, TV producers, and people working tirelessly to put Nigerian stories on the global map. We've seen the rise and the adoption of Nigerian content going global through streaming platforms, television, the cinemas, and it can only get better as a result of the work a lot of people in the industry are making, specifically festivals where people can watch films, can discover new talent, and can get rewarded for their efforts. One of such events that has become the live stay here in Nigeria is the African International Film Festival, popularly called AFRIF, which takes place in November. This conversation looks at what to expect, and also for those who have attended in the past, what has the experience been like, and what needs to be done to continue to push our stories out there. Joining me for this conversation is the project director at AFRIF, Isioma Idigbe. Welcome to Rubbin Minds.
Thank you so much for having me.
And seated next to her is a filmmaker, Comfort Booth. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm going to start with you, Isioma. How important are film festivals, African film festivals that prioritize not just Nigerian content, but content from across Africa in ensuring that our stories get to audiences across the world?
I think African film festivals are extremely important, and AFRIF being one of the most important that we have in the festival calendar on the continent. And it's important because it becomes a gathering place where not just the films can be shown, but also that the filmmakers from across the continent can meet each other and interact and continue to collaborate to tell more stories. So at AFRIF, for instance, this year we have over 50 international delegations attending the festival, and and that's why we're the African International Film Festival. So we not only are we showcasing the African filmmakers within an African space, but we're showcasing it to people from all over the world that come to our festival. The festival becomes an opportunity for them to see this work that they may not ordinarily be able to see in their different markets.
So a place of discovery, a place of collaboration, partnerships, and a lot of huge networking opportunities available. Now, I'd like to hear directly from someone who has been there, done that, and probably has the t-shirt to show for it. Comfort, what has your experience been like attending AFRIF as a filmmaker?
So interestingly, I attended AFRIF for the first time last year. So that was AFRIF 12. And it was the attending and just seeing the depth of knowledge, the breadth of networking, and the inspiration that people bring to life that made me say, I'm going to do this next year. A year later, I have a short film. And not just that, I submitted to AFRIF, my first time ever, and I was selected. So I'm showing, I'm super excited. That's what AFRIF has done for me. So I didn't even start out as a filmmaker. I started out just as a writer and got inspired. And it's a platform that is open. I think that's what I liked about it. It was open. I didn't feel like an imposter. I didn't feel as if I was telling a lie. I didn't feel, as if this is not where I belong. No. It gave that breadth of expression.
I'll come back to you because I want to hear all about this short film. And it's interesting that your journey just started.
Yes.
And yet, with some events, there seems to be, I don't know if you watched the previous segment, but there's like a queue, like you wait in turn when it gets to your turn. There are people who have paid their dues. How is Africa democratizing that space so that if tomorrow after this conversation I say, you know what, I also want to have my short film, is it possible?
So, it's so great to hear Comfort's story. And funny enough, last year was the first time I was a project director. So that was my first sort of control of putting the festival together. So it makes me so happy to hear that feedback from you. And this is my second year as project director. And my story in Africa as well is sort of the same story, where my day job, I'm a lawyer. I'm actually a partner at a law firm. And I started off by saying that I wanted to do entertainment law training courses at the festival. And that was literally the beginning of me getting involved in volunteering in the festival and working my way all the way up to project director. But in terms of as a filmmaker, there's so many things that we have on offer for filmmakers. We have masterclasses, we have workshops that are completely free to attend. All you have to do is go on the website and register within the appropriate time. And if you're lucky, because it's always oversubscribed, you'll be able to get into one of those classes. And these are classes that are usually done by some of the best filmmakers, not just in Nigeria, Africa, but around the world, which we are having the same as well this year. And when you submit your films, you submit your film on something called Film Freeway, which is an international place where all film festivals are there, you can submit. And we have an independent selection committee that look through all these films and shortlist the films for selection. It's actually quite a big deal when you get shortlisted at AFRIF. Congratulations.
I know, thank you.
And we've had a number of our films shortlisted in AFRIF that have gone on to bigger international film festivals. We've had filmmakers who have come through our training programs that have gone on to be big stars. Some of the ones I'll talk about, CJ Obasi is one of our big success stories, whose film won at the Sundance Film Festival last year. We have Adesuwa Etomi Wellington, who was one of the people that we trained at the festival, one of our biggest actresses now. And we can name so many. We have Roye Okupe of Unique Studios, who now has a collaboration with Max and Cartoon Network for his cartoon series Iyanu, the first time he ever showed in Nigeria, and that was actually where I met him. Was showing his short animated film at AFRIF. That's the magic of AFRIF. That anybody who has an idea, who has a passion for the film industry, it's a safe place for you to come to, meet people, show your work, have that work constructively criticized or accepted, whichever way, but you're going to come out of it stronger, better, more informed, more connected, and be in a better position to be able to move forward in your career.
Yeah. Congratulations once again, Comfort, on being shortlisted at AFRIF. It is a big deal indeed. Tell us about the inspiration. What made you shift from going from writing to actually going behind the camera to do a whole short film? And why did you think it was important for it to show at AFRIF?
So I'm a movie buff. I even do movie reviews. I grew up on movies, courtesy my mother. So films have always been in my life. And then I have the talent of writing. So it actually started out with me trying to, this year, finally publish a book. I have them all over the place, uncompleted. And I had this compilation of short stories. So I now attend AFRIF, get inspiration. So remember, I'm on the trajectory to be an author. Get inspired. And now say, no, I just loved how comfortable it was. And I like what you said, that there's some industries where you have you paid your dues? Why is this person here? I didn't get any of that. And so I felt, okay, so why not? Low-hanging fruit, it's one of the festivals that is recognized. It's the biggest on the continent. So why not? If it's that, as you called it, democratized, I'm inspired, I have access to these tools, I have a talent, then let me start out small. You don't start out small, then you progress. So I took one of my stories. I took the one that I love, one of the stories that I love that I wrote, yes, because I loved it. It came from me, And then I looked for the good hands. I looked for solid hands. Might be more expensive, but you do want your first attempt. So I think that would be one piece of advice, If you're going to do it, your first time, make sure you look for the solid hands because they will still handhold you into it. You need it. If you like, later on you can fly, but start well. So that was it. And that was an AFRIF for giving me the inspiration. It was only right that I would be there. And I spoke it. I said, I want to be selected. You know what? I have to. And let me just say it here. I'm going to win.
Well, wish you all the best in that. Isioma, I want us to look at the larger conversation of how well our movies do on a global stage. I mean, we are seeing an adoption, we're seeing more people requesting, but yet, in terms of the technicalities, in terms of the quality, the film values, maybe because of budget, we're not still seeing the amount of movies that we should see on an international stage. Like you could mention like a few, but we're looking forward to a time where you could mention maybe 10, 20 films. What needs to be done to address those challenges?
So I think, and that's one of the things that we're actually focusing on at the festival this year. So this year at the festival, we've broken up each day into themes. So the first day is Herbert Day. Herbert was one of our patrons of blessed memory. We miss him so much at the festival this year. And we decided to honor him with the first official day of the industry session. And really, in his memory, we'll be talking a lot about the things he believed in: leadership, innovation, growth. This is all linked back to your question. The second day is co-production day. The third day is animation day. The fourth day is television day. And then the fifth day is Afro Unity Day. These themes are all linked to your question. How do we get 10 or more Nigerian films at the global stage? At AFRIF, we have the opportunity to be able to experience the entirety of the ecosystem every time we put the festival together. And so we have this bird's eye view of where the gaps are. And so even when we have strategic partners at the festival, it's about addressing those issues. So some of our strategic partners, we have institutional partners like the Ministry of Arts, Culture, Tourism, and the Creative Economy is a strategic partner for us. The Lagos State government is a strategic partner for us, because some of these issues are structural issues, enabling environment issues that require the government to step in and create those enabling environments. You talk about things like skill gaps. It would be interesting for you to know that some of our top filmmakers, people like Abba Makama, Kenneth Giang, Kenneth Giang particularly, some of the top technical talents, which I'm sure you use some of them in your film, all come from NFI, which is Nigerian Film Institute. But it's also an institution that is extremely underfunded, and yet is producing some of the people who are producing works that are going around globally. So you then have to look at what do we need to do to take an NFI, for example, and supercharge it to be able to deliver for the industry, right? Does it need to only be in Jos? Do we need to have one in every geopolitical zone? And so those conversations we're having with, like the ministry, and we're facilitating those conversations happening. The ministry and Lagos State have been incredibly supportive to the festival. And in them partnering with us, they then have the opportunity to sit in the festival and engage with the filmmakers around what those environmental issues are that are limiting the space. You can't also be looking at trying to be big globally when you haven't actually broken ground locally. We have a total of, I think, 70 to 90 screens, cinema screens in the entirety of West Africa, majority of them being in Nigeria. So there needs to be a significant and intentional cinema expansion from a policy perspective, which means supercharging the private sector to be able to deliver those cinemas. If you look at the Ministry of Arts, Culture, and Creative Economies plan, I think they have a plan to do about 4,000 screens or something like that. AFRIF becomes a place where they can have those dialogues with those stakeholders.
So I hear you, and AFRIF has made a lot of strides. But when we talk about notable film festivals across the world, you're still talking about the Cannes, the Sundance. When do we see AFRIF becoming one of those film festivals that, like the Berlinale? How can AFRIF become a globally well-attended, respected film festival?
So first of all, AFRIF actually welcomes about 6,000 visitors every year, minimum, and growing. I just told you that we have a 50+ delegation. This is the official foreign delegation. There are people who just attend the festival and are from different parts of the world that we find out when they arrive at our festival. So in terms of international recognition, AFRIF has established itself as a huge festival in Africa. But I hear you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
We're out of time again. So thank you so much. Isioma, thank you so much, Comfort. I wish you all the best with the nomination and all the best with this year's programming. My name is Isabella Adediji, and